What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie. Going to deep dive into some Styx albums today and in the next couple videos. Going to break it up into three parts. The early John Curulewski years, those first five albums, then the Tommy Shaw years, the first run, and then everything after Kilroy. Dedicating this to a friend of mine named Scott. He passed away about 20 years ago. I dedicated my Rush videos to him. Met him in fifth grade. We became friends forever, essentially. And the thing that bonded us was music. And there were two things that were true as he and I grew up and our taste evolved. I always remained a hardcore Blue Oyster Cult fan and could always tell you what they were doing and where they were touring and what they were playing in the recent shows. And he always remained a hardcore Styx fan. I became like a hippie who loved metal, but always loved Blue Oyster Cult. He became more of a jazz guy and always loved Styx. In fact, the very last time I spoke to him, he was praising their cover album, which I'm not going to cover, though I might in his honor. But yeah, a little spoiler warning, or at least maybe a trigger warning. There are parts of Styx I really, really like. I think these first five albums have some absolutely amazing moments on them. But ultimately, I have a Dennis DeYoung issue. His voice bothers me at times. Sort of his musical taste, the things that I think he likes, that he puts on record, bother me at times. And so if you are a hardcore Dennis DeYoung fan, and you don't take kindly to criticism of something you like, these will not be the videos for you. At times, he is fantastic. In this video alone, Sweet Madam Blue kills it. Grove of Eglantine kills it. Like, he has fantastic moments. But there are other times when I think a song is going along great, and then he shows up vocally, and it kind of ruins it for me. Or his keyboard sounds are sometimes not the best keyboard sounds. So there will be that criticism. I don't listen to Styx a lot, but I was excited to revisit these albums. Do it for a friend of mine. Do it in his memory. So yeah, I'm going to do the first five albums. I'll rank them. And then as we go on, I'll put these where they go in the discography. But yeah, I think that's it for now. Let's get on to number five. My number five is their third album, 1973's The Serpent is Rising. And I think this album is pretty indicative of all of my issues with these early Styx albums, is there are moments that are absolutely fantastic. There are four really good songs on here. The opening, Witch Wolf, a James Young song, really strong rocker. JY likes to lead into these riffs that remind me a lot of Blue Oyster Cult's Stairway to the Stars. These really tense, sort of driven, like dun 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 dun, dun, that kind of like groove. I think that's Stairway to the Stars that I just sung, maybe. But Witch Wolf has that. There's a couple other JY early tracks that have that just kind of tense drive-in action. But it's a great song. Don't know what the lyrics are about. Don't know who this Witch Wolf is. Don't know where we go from here. But it's a good opener, good energy. The second song, The Grove of Eglantine, Dennis DeYoung at his absolute best. Awesome, baroque-y, proggy, multifaceted, dynamic number. Some absolutely great bass sounds in here, great proggy energy. A really, really, absolutely fantastic song. The opening of this album, the 1-2 punch, fantastic. Opener on side B, midway through the album, Winner Takes All, a nice little dun, 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 nice little piano-driven type rocker, some really good energy. When JY sings it, and when he sings the word high, he goes, high, tries to hit those high notes. That's fun. And then the title track, absolutely fantastic. This almost like slithering serpentine type riff that kind of eases into the song. Nice proggy energy, nice little guitar break in the middle that we go back into the song. Like four fantastic songs. But then there's a bunch of stuff that one is just kind of there and just kind of doesn't do anything for me. A song called Young Man, a JY song, which has its moments. But I don't know, ultimately is just kind of maybe an average rocker, really weird last 20 seconds that are pretty effective. Okay song. A Curulewski song called As Bad as This, kind of a ballady number that really doesn't do much. Couple songs on the second half of the album, 22 Years and Jonas Salter, which are just kind of your average rockers, have their moments. They're not bad. Jonas Salter is about a pirate, has that pirate song energy. But then the last two songs, Krakatoa and Hallelujah Chorus, Handel's Messiah, are just wasted tracks. One's just like a screaming spoken word thing. The other one's Hallelujah, by not by Cohen, by Handel. Missed an opportunity here, the band, because it goes, the serpent is rising, then you get this Krakatoa spoken word thing, then you get this Hallelujah chorus thing. And I think had they gone Krakatoa, this weird screaming loud thing, and then the serpent is rising, emerges out of that, and it goes into Hallelujah at the end, becomes a little mini epic at the end, and the sequencing maybe could have saved the second half of this album. So an inconsistent with at times great album. But what this album has that just, I have to put it at number 5, is the worst thing Styx has ever committed to tape, to vinyl, to digital, to whatever. A little song called Plexiglass Toilet, which it's a hidden track, unfortunately, and it's a hidden track on the 4th song in the middle of the album. So it's not at the end of the album where you can just get to the end of the album and skip it. It's right in the middle of the album. So if you're listening to the album, you're going to want to be near something where you can skip the track when it comes off. It's this little fa calypso island accent thing about a plexiglass toilet. It's about cleaning yourself with the paper. It's got this horrible sort of calypso accent. Dr. Demento played it a couple times on his radio show back. I remember hearing it, thinking it was horrible as a Dr. Demento song. It's even worse as a Styx song on an album that otherwise has some really, 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 really solid tracks on it. Yeah, so that is really frustrating. And it's just a painful song. I think it's a really, really bad song. The lyrics are just absolutely horrible. This sort of calypso accent makes Genesis's Illegal Alien seem like a Pulitzer winning prize piece of musical art. Great commentary on immigration there, Genesis, especially when compared to Plexiglass Toilet. Yeah, I hate that song. It is just, it ruins an album that I think would probably jump up to number 3, possibly, maybe 2, if it wasn't there. That's how much I dislike this song. Had it even been if it wasn't a hidden track and I could just sequence my CD player or like take it out, don't have to go to Audacity and literally cut the song off. Yeah, I'm angry. But yeah, it's a really solid album. One horrible decision. And it's a Curulewski song, I think. I think both the song it's hidden in, As Bad as This. Interesting that it's in a song called As Bad as This, because As Bad as This, Styx never gets again. But yeah, that's my rant against this album, mainly because of one hidden track that you kind of can't avoid. It's there. You're stuck with it. It's horrible, in my opinion. But yeah, otherwise, there's some really good stuff on here, and it's kind of worth a listen. Just make like a set list, make a track, make a playlist of the good stuff. 4 solid songs. And the other stuff really isn't that bad, but it's being penalized because of a plexiglass toilet. That's my number 5. The Serpent is Rising. My number 4 is their 4th, 1974's A Man of Miracles. This album does not have the highs that A Serpent is Rising has. There are a couple really good songs on here, but I don't think any of them are quite as good as maybe even all 4 of those top tier Serpent is Rising songs. But it does not have a plexiglass toilet. There's really nothing bad on this album at all. It's just some of the songs are just kind of forgettable. There's a cover on here of a song called Lies, which just doesn't fit. Like I can even see like Frank Zappa dropping a cover of Lies on something like Studio Tan, kind of taking like a Let Me Take You to the Beach type vibe and him hamming it up a little and it would work. It just doesn't work for Styx. I think it's a bad cover. Probably not their choice to do it. I'm assuming, who knows? At this point, they were all writing their own material. So the fact that there's this random cover on here, maybe it was a studio thing. Somebody was making them do it. It just doesn't work. And I think it kind of ruins the flow of the album. Had it been maybe the last song, maybe. Um, but there's some decent stuff on here. Rock and Roll Feelings. It is a song that sounds exactly, musically, exactly like what a song titled Rock and Roll Feeling should sound like. It is just awesome, generic American Grand Funk Railroad type rock with a title called Rock and Roll Feeling. Um, Nice, really Boston vibes. I get a lot of pre-Boston vibes. Seems a lot of like JY at his best early on. Boston kind of took this sound and just cleaned it up and perfected it for like their first two albums essentially. But yeah, an early you could see Boston covering Rock and Roll Feeling or finding inspiration in this. Having a Ball has a really nice glam rock meets 70s rock, kind of early 70s Stones vibe that's pretty good. Golden Lark, just kind of a little proggy ballad, DeYoung number. A Song for Suzanne has this really nice kind of slow, take your time intro that works, kind of a proggy, poppy, slightly poppy rock vibe that works. Nice and dynamic, a little more ambitious in its scope musically, but a Dennis DeYoung song that works. Like again, sometimes he nails it out of the park, hits it out of the park. Um, and then A Man Like Me, which is like a really upbeat rocker, sounds like maybe an early Doobies Brothers cut, like a deep cut on one of their albums. Um, Not the best thing in the world, but not bad. Nice bar, like a Doobie Brothers is a bar band early in their career, but a nice. I think it's a JY song. Then we get Lies, that odd cover that just doesn't work. We get Evil Eyes, another more sort of proggy, ballady, multifaceted. Like we start slow, we build to something a little more bigger. Evil Eyes, this song by Dennis DeYoung that just don't really like the vocals. It almost sounds like a Broadway number by a villain singing about evil eyes. Though we do get some interesting musical parts in here. The fantastic Southern Woman, another Stairway to the Stars type JY riff that is fantastic. Love he is going for it vocally. He's got some swagger in his vocals. It's a fun song. Yeah, should have led off this half of the album. Southern Woman is a fantastic JY song. JY was hitting it out of the park early on in his career, man. I don't know why they phased him out. Dennis DeYoung, I have a feeling, just muscled him out. Sorry to be bad mouthing Dennis, but JY's killing it early on. Christopher, Mr. Christopher, a Dennis DeYoung song that doesn't really work. Some big ideas, some proggy piano parts. And then the awesome Man of Miracles. Styx is one of those bands that's kind of hard to define genre wise. Like they're not really prog. They have hard rock, not really hard rock. Sometimes they just have a really good American rock sound that is really good. Poppy when Tommy Shaw comes in. But of all the labels I've heard, Pomp Rock is my favorite. And Man of Miracles, the title track, total pop rock. Cheesy at times, great organ work, some great guitar riffs. We get a proggy middle section. It's kind of all over the place with like pompous prog energy, but then pompous Broadway energy and pompous just all this pomp for the title track to close out the album. Good ending for the album. But yeah, solid outing. One poor choice in the cover song. Couple songs that the JY energy is good. But yeah, good little number. That'd be my number 4. Their fourth, Man of Miracles. My number 3 is their debut album, Styx, came out in 1972. It's a little all over the map, shows some promise, has some good hard rock energy, a little bit of proggy energy, at times too ambitious for its own good, a lot of covers as they weren't writing a lot of their own material, or at least they were a new band, so nobody trusted them to. But two, I would argue, fantastic songs. A song called What Has Come Between Us opens up side B, really hard rock, proggy, nice Dennis DeYoung vocals, just all around really dynamic, interesting song. And then the one that follows it, Best Thing, which is this really fun early 70s rocker, kind of reminds me of the Doobie Brothers. Jesus is Just All Right, with like various musical parts and great harmonies. Just, I think there's a little banjo breakdown at one point in the middle of the song. Kind of really fun and dynamic and all over the place, and something they kind of didn't get back to enough in their career. Um, but fantastic, fantastic songs. Everything else on here is either just kind of, none of it's bad. Maybe it's just too ambitious or not memorable. It opens up with a 13-minute track that probably would have worked better broken up into its different parts. It opens up with like this 3.5 minute JY rocker that's actually really good. Kind of a Deep Purple light vibe that works. Closes out with like a similar type rocker towards the end. Um, Kind of a proggy rock song that works better at the end. But the middle section is a little, you get some like spoken word type talking, atmospheric type stuff that Dennis DeYoung liked to put into songs throughout their career. Some interesting musical parts, like this nice little bass part, this really meaty organ guitar riff that gets teased. But all the different, like one of the parts is called Street Collage, just goes on way too long. But there's a quote of Copland's Fanfare for the Common Man, ambitious, trying to, dip their toes in prog waters. But I just don't think that middle part, all the different parts, like the different parts aren't greater than the sum. The sum is not greater than the parts, whatever, you know what I'm saying. So I think it's ambitious, bow down to them for their first album, kind of cool, but I just don't think it works. Then you get like this song called Right Away, kind of a ballady thing with some pretty decent soloing in there. I do like the dual guitar attack whenever both Curulewski and Young would play. Is always interesting throughout their entire catalog. I do like the sound of a lot of this, the way the band sounds. I love the rawness of the guitars. DeYoung's keyboard choices at this point are not Disneyland Electric Mayhem type. Electric Mayhem, that's not what it is. Electric Parade type stuff. And then the last two songs on the album, Quick as the Beat of My Heart, kind of a funkier sound that just kind of doesn't go anywhere, but it has a neat kind of funky kind of rock sound. Nice instrumental proggy section. And then After You Leave Me, another cover, again, which starts off with like kind of a big riff and has some cool energy, but just kind of doesn't go anywhere as a song, doesn't leave much of an impression. So nothing bad on here at all. Two fantastic songs. And just their ambition is good. If you can just like, hey, early 70s, it's their first album, not a bad outing. I think it's better than it generally gets credit for being. But that would be my number 3, their debut, Styx. My number 2 is their fifth, 1975's Equinox, the last of the Curulewski era. This is where Dennis DeYoung starts to really negatively affect my own personal listening experience. The first two songs on here, Light Up and Lorelei, DeYoung songs in which he sings, one of them co-written with JY, the second one, Lorelei. Musically, both kind of interesting, some nice mix of guitars and riffs, a little progginess. I like the keyboard sounds, nothing to complain about musically, just some good energy, especially Light Up, some really good energy throughout. But both times, the DeYoung vocals, both the content of the lyrics and just his tone, his style, it's not something that I choose to listen to, that gets me. And I think Light Up especially comes in with this like like really cool keyboard sound and these nice little like rock riffs. But then as soon as Dennis DeYoung starts singing, I'm kind of checked out. He just it light up everybody. I mean, it might be about that, but who knows? It also could be just a metaphor for celebrating life. Who knows? But it undercuts the intensity of the music for me, and it just I don't know. Maybe if JY was singing these songs, I'd like them better. And Lorelei, the lyrics are kind of cheesy, but musically, you can see the big growth that they're taking. You can see this is kind of a step towards the proggy pop rock sound that would define the Tommy Shaw years. Mother Dear, a Curulewski co-written number with DeYoung, highlight of the album, or one of the highlights of the album. Fantastic song. Lots of interesting parts. These cool little breakdowns with some awesome little hi-hat action, some great keyboard sounds, really fun, different sounding number that um, kind of reminds me of another song that Curulewski did, which we'll talk about on the next album, on the number one album. Him really pushing them into a slightly different direction than they would go. Fantastic, fantastic song. And then the song after that, Lonely Child, what closes outside A, just kind of a acoustic ballady vibe, a mid-tempo kind of rocky song. Not bad, DeYoung song, but it's kind of forgettable. Not much to that. Side two, the stronger of the two sides, opens up with a JY song, Midnight Run, which is just your kind of solid, typical JY rocker. And then another absolute highlight, Born for Adventure. This is a DeYoung song, but it was co-written with Curulewski, and I think that's maybe why it's so good. Really nice bass-driven energy almost the entire time. This cool, like, bass-driven breakdown towards the end of the song. Musically, just absolutely awesome. Nice, playful song. Born for Adventure, like easy highlight towards the latter half of this album. We get a short little song called Prelude 12, which is, I think, a 12-string sort of solo, just guitar, little number, instrumental piece by Curulewski. And then that goes into the epic, deservedly so epic, Sweet Madam Blue, probably the best thing they've done up to this point in their career. The last track on the final album of the Curulewski era, really epic, like almost a Scorpions worthy ballad. Scorpions, the best ballad writing hard rock band of all time. This has a really nice, awesome intro, goes into a really cool middle section in which the keyboards sound fantastic. This awesome closing riff that is fantastic. No idea what the lyrics have to do, what it has to do with America. Who cares? Musically, it's fantastic. DeYoung nails it here. This is sort of almost a template for what Come Sail Away would be. But yeah, fantastic, fantastic closer. But I have it at number two, despite the absolute strength of Mother Dear, Born for Adventure, Prelude 12, Sweet Madam Blue. Those four songs are fantastic. But I have it at number two only because the Light Up Lorelei 1-2 combo that opens it up, it's rough for me. And it's DeYoung's vocals. Again, I warned you, not a big fan of his singing. And this is an instance where it just doesn't work for me. It's just there's something a little too, I don't know what it is. But yeah, but other than that, a pretty solid listen. My number two, Equinox. And my number one album from this era, squeezing past Equinox for the number one spot, would be Styx 2, their second album, released in 1973. This is the one with Lady, which is, it's less than 3 minutes long. They get a lot done in that 3 minutes. Revisiting this song and hearing it again, I was like, oh, Lady. And then I'm like, you know what? It's not bad. And as far as Dennis DeYoung ballads that transform into rockers go, it's a pretty good little number. But I really don't think there's anything bad on this album, and there's some really, really, really fantastic tracks. You Need Love is the opener, really just nice kind of like boogie type vibe. There's kind of a lot going on in this song, but really good high energy rock song to open it up. Just a fantastic star. This is JY singing this. We get Lady next, the hit, the big one. Then we get a Curulewski number, two Curulewski numbers, 3 and 4, which are both fantastic. A song called A Day, which is unlike anything Styx has ever done. It's very loose and kind of jazz jammy. There are sort of Allman Brother elements in there. There's like a Traffic, chill out, loose kind of jazz rock Traffic vibe in there. There's a little CSNY kind of vibe in there for a while. Doesn't sound like Styx at all. Curulewski's doing the lead vocals. Just an absolutely fantastic kind of chill song that goes into this jammy thing, goes back into the chill song. Fantastic. But it doesn't sound anything like Styx, but it's a really awesome number. To have like JY do something, Dennis do something, then Curulewski drop this it's like 8 minutes long, Really good opening to this album. Then Curulewski gets the next number, You Better Ask, which is this just like 70s rock, slightly funky type thing. The Devil Took My Soul. Really nice keyboard solo in here. DeYoung's bringing the keyboard action. Or yeah, I know Kuralewski played synthesizers also, but I think he maybe just did like things in the back. Just a really nice, really fun song. Um, we get an unnecessary Bach cover, little fugue in G. Don't need this. But then Father OSA, kind of this slow, dramatic, kind of like slightly ballady type, slow simmering rock number that reminds me of Traffic. Again, another Traffic reference. Dear Mr. Fantasy, and there's this like I think it's you get these 4 bar like repetitive like cycle that goes through, and every time you get to the end of the cycle, if you go ba da 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 da, like do like that Dear Mr. Fantasy little riff, it sounds like Dear Mr. Fantasy. It's got that vibe. It's not as trippy, it's not as epic, it's not as good, but for a nice 7-minute number, it the nice that the beginning that Dear Mr. Fantasy, just say that little transitional lick. If you listen to the song, you'll hear it. You can't miss it. Nice little guitar solo breakdown in the middle of this is pretty cool. Oh no, that's the next song. This one has a really nice closing guitar solo on here that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's like Styxy, proggy, ballady, Dennis DeYoung typical number. But because it's in that Mr. Fantasy era, it kind of works for me. The Earl of Roseland is a song that is a real cool like guitar breakdown in the middle of it. Kind of a really upbeat rock song. Dennis DeYoung kind of undermines the whole a lot of the song with his vocals and the lyrics. Some of the lyrics on here are pretty bad. Kind of reminds me of like a early Billy Joel character driven song, but just not as effective. Some of the lyrics are me and Davy playing sport. Nobody's ever said the word playing sport. Also, the line rehearsing electric string tricks. Nobody's ever referred to guitar playing as rehearsing electric string tricks. Just trying too hard to be poetic here, Dennis. But there are some good moments musically. And then the closing, I'm going to make you feel it, is fantastic. Awesome fast rocker. Really good bass drums. Really good. But yeah, in later releases, they added this song that I think was actually recorded on for a different album called Unfinished Song, I think is what it's called. Cheesy piano ballad with some really cheesy Dennis DeYoung lyrics. Some poets say that ships sail their, what does that say? I don't even know what I wrote on there. Ships sail their courses and heroes ride horses. Nah, man, you got to leave that unreleased. But it's only like a bonus track. Really nice guitar playing on here though. But yeah, I think from start to finish, this is by far the most consistent album. The Curulewski stuff is fantastic. I wish he had felt comfortable enough to flex his songwriting muscles more often. As every time he did, some of the highlights from this early part of the catalog are Curulewski stuff. So, but yeah, that would be my number 1, Styx 2. That's what the albums look like in typewritten form. And below that, I have put what I think are the top 10 songs from this era. If you are unfamiliar with early Styx, this sort of, I would say a harder rockin', slightly less proggy, a little more JY influenced era. Not as much pump rock as they eventually would have in the Tommy Shaw era, nor as much pop as they would have. I did put together that playlist. I will put the link in the description. It is on YouTube, so you're watching this on YouTube, so maybe you can access the playlist. I think they have some good stuff. Like it's not it's not breaking any molds. It's not mind blowing. It's not, it's not the most epic rock ever. But for an American rock band from the early '70s, I think it's some pretty good stuff. It's a lot more fun than I remember it being. So anyways, it's those 10 songs. But again, there will be a link in the description if you actually want to check out the playlist and want to hear them for yourself. But that's what I got. I'm going to move on to the Tommy Shaw years next. Really familiar with the Tommy Shaw years. Got hardcore into them in junior high. Last album I am familiar with is Kilroy Was Here. I don't think I've heard anything more than once. After that, But yeah, I'm excited for the Tommy Shaw years, and then we'll get on to the post Tommy Shaw years. But anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things, and peace. Thanks for watching.